The air was electric. Two men stood across from each other, both knowing that only one would walk away as champion. At 31 and 33 years old, respectively, these weren't young fighters chasing their first taste of glory. These were seasoned warriors with everything to prove and everything to lose. Standing at identical heights with the exact same 76-inch reach, this was as close to a mirror match as you could get. But in mixed martial arts, it's not the measurements that matter. It's the heart, the skill, and the willingness to break before you bend. The South African champion had already tasted victory against this American challenger before. But rematches in combat sports are different beasts entirely. They're about adjustments, about who learned more from their first encounter, and about who wants it more the second time around. As the opening bell rang, you could immediately see the chess match beginning. The champion opened with his trademark low kicks, those bone-rattling shots that had troubled so many opponents before. But the challenger was ready. He checked one cleanly, showing he'd done his homework. The South African's left kick was always his weapon of mass destruction, and he wasn't shy about throwing it. But this American had survived their first war, and he wasn't backing down from round 2 of this epic rivalry. Early in the first round, the champion attacked the body with surgical precision. This wasn't wild swinging, this was calculated violence. The challenger needed to be more active, needed to put more leather on his opponent if he wanted to reclaim what was once his. Then it happened, a beautiful counter right hand from the American. The crowd erupted as he found his mark, proving that championship-level power flows both ways in this division. But something was already becoming clear. Blood began to trickle from the challenger's mouth. In a sport where every drop of blood tells a story, this was the first chapter being written in crimson. The American showed his boxing pedigree with some beautiful combinations, a left hook, an uppercut, and a right hand straight down the middle. These weren't just punches, these were statements. Statements that said, "I'm here to take back what's mine." But the champion wasn't fazed. His cardio was legendary, his pressure relentless, and his kicks were finding their mark with increasing frequency. An inside low kick landed with a sickening thud that echoed through the arena. By the end of round 2, it was becoming clear that the champion was edging ahead. He was simply doing more kicks, more pressure, more consistent offense. But in championship fights, momentum can shift in the blink of an eye. The third round brought fireworks. The challenger landed a flush spinning back fist that would have dropped most men. But the champion didn't even flinch. He just smiled and walked forward like he'd been hit with a pillow. The chin on this South African was something else entirely. Then the American found his rhythm. A beautiful jab followed by combination work that had his corners screaming with excitement. This was the boxing that had made him champion in the first place. Clean, technical, devastating. But the champion answered with an elbow that cut through the air like a blade. The exchanges were becoming more violent, more desperate, more beautiful in their brutality. Round 4 changed everything. The challenger was looking good, finding his range, starting to believe he could reclaim his throne. Then it happened, a right hand from the champion that landed with the sound of thunder. The challenger's nose exploded. Blood didn't just flow, it gushed. It poured down his face like a crimson waterfall, painting the canvas red with each step. This wasn't just a broken nose. This was a nose that had been completely shattered. In that moment, you could see the fight change. The champion smelled blood, literally, and began stalking his wounded prey. But this is where champions are made or broken. How do you fight with a nose that's hanging by a thread? How do you breathe when every breath feels like drowning? The American's corner was screaming advice. But what advice can you give a man whose face is being held together by willpower alone? Wrestling was out of the question. Any contact would drive the broken bone deeper into his skull. Yet somehow, Impossibly, the challenger kept fighting. With blood streaming down his face, obscuring his vision, making every breath an agony, he kept throwing leather. A stiff, rock-hard jab proved that even with a shattered nose, he still had championship heart. The champion was relentless now, pressing forward like a shark sensing weakness. This South African was special. Not just physically gifted, but mentally unbreakable. But the American refused to fold. Even with his face resembling something from a horror movie, he kept firing back. Good right hands, clean combinations. This was warrior spirit in its purest form. Round 5 was a masterpiece of human endurance. The challenger, despite looking like he'd been hit by a truck, was still throwing meaningful shots. His corner knew it was too little too late, but sometimes in fighting, it's not about winning anymore, it's about proving you belong in that cage with the best in the world. And the champion continued to press, his gas tank seemingly bottomless, his technique as sharp in the 5th as it was in the 1st. This was what separated good fighters from great ones, the ability to maintain excellence when your body is screaming for mercy. As the final bell rang, both men had given everything they had. 5 rounds of absolute warfare, of technique meeting violence, of heart meeting skill. The judges had seen enough. After 25 minutes of combat that will be talked about for years to come, their scorecards read like a love letter to the beautiful brutality of mixed martial arts. This wasn't just a fight. It was a testament to the human spirit. 2 men pushed each other to places most people will never go, and in doing so, they created something immortal. Sean Strickland, bloodied but unbowed, had given everything he had. Sometimes in fighting, winning isn't about the scorecards. It's about proving you belong in that cage with the best in the world. And Dricus Du Plessis, he proved once again why the path to middleweight gold runs straight through South Africa. In a sport where legends are made in moments, these 2 warriors created 25 minutes of pure magic. This is why we watch. This is why we believe. This is fighting at its absolute finest. Remember to like this video if you want to see more breakdowns of the greatest fights in combat sports history, and subscribe for the latest fight analysis and highlights. What did you think of this epic rematch? Let me know in the comments below.